you, Elizabeth. I'm Henry Jenkins, the newly minted Provost Professor of Communications, Journalism, and Cinematic Arts here at USC. Many of you know I just moved here from MIT, so this is my coming out party in effect. Really delighted to be helping to bring to LA a tradition we started back at MIT. We've done the Futures of Entertainment Conference 4 years running there, and we've tried to experiment today with what we could do on the West Coast that will continue that spirit and that tradition. One of the traditions of the East Coast version of this is Twitter. Twitter's been a very important channel for us, and if you can pull it up, our hashtag for the day is TransH. So if any of you are out there live tweeting and you want to write about what's going on in today, TransH is the way that you will all be able to find each other, and we have really healthy back-channel dialogue that gets run via Twitter at these events. So I hope you'll take advantage of that if you're a Twitter follower, and it also, of course, helps our visibility as a conference to have some buzz going out about what's taking place here. So I was thinking as I drove in this morning how much the landscape around us speaks to today's topic, and the degree to which we pass through the history of transmedia to get to this building, or at least some, depending on which route you drive. But the first thing I would point to is the Felix the Cat sign, which hovers over the car dealership on the outskirts of the USC campus. And those of you who know your history know that Felix was one of the first major characters to come out of comic strips, move into cinema. It was an animated cartoon figure. At the peak, he had a stage play. There was sheet music devoted to Felix. There were plush toys devoted to Felix. And, of course, the car dealership, which dates back to the 1920s. That giant Felix is a marker of one of the patron saints of the idea of moving out from the center of a single media into many channels. Now, what's different about Felix from the modern version of transmedia is he had a systematic problem of amnesia. Felix doesn't remember what's happened from one episode to the next, leave aside having any consciousness of who he is as he moves from one media platform to the next. So we now think of transmedia as an integrated system where information gets shared, where we collect information as we move across media, and we have what Neil Young, the game designer, described as additive comprehension, a sense of additive knowledge as we move across platforms. If you enter this building, you pass Douglas Fairbanks, right, and a statue of Douglas Fairbanks in the courtyard. And Douglas Fairbanks also, of course, worked on stories that started as literary sources. He's best known for swashbuckling stories out of Dumas and Robin Hood and so forth. But he also was exhibited in the great movie palaces of the era, which sought to create an immersive environment that took the kinds of stories you saw on the screen and continued them into the seating of the audience. So we may think of Avatar as an immersive experience now, but that was also an immersive experience, where the world of the story is bigger than any given story on the screen and engulfs us as we enter the theater. But if you looked on the roofs of the buildings here, you will have seen the signs of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, right? Both of whom are key figures in pushing forward this idea that we may have stories that tell across media. And Lucas, of course, famously signed the deal around Star Wars not to take a salary, but to take a cut off ancillary properties, and that gave him a vested interest in imagining how to integrate those ancillaries, what were once called ancillaries, into the storytelling system of Star Wars. And Spielberg similarly experimented with this with Indiana Jones and a variety of other properties. The Young Indiana Jones television series, which told much of the backstory of the Indiana Jones movies, is an important step toward the discussion we're having today. So just walking into this building, we walk through a history. And I think this is a really exciting partnership between UCLA and USC, two of the best cinema schools in the world, who too rarely have had a chance to work together. And I think it's an exciting chance to bring those two into a shared space, because we both are deeply vested in preparing students for the future of the entertainment industry. And I would argue that just as there was a major step from directors, say in Hollywood, or technicians working their way up through the guilds, and so the director knew one part of the craft of making a movie well, to the sort of moment when the film schools opened and the Lucases and Spielbergs came out, we're already knowing a much broader array of techniques, already having language in common with the technical crews that they're working with, enabled us to push forward the style of cinema in some really profound ways. We now have a potential with film schools to expand that even further, to think about transmedia, to think about how do we bring games and the web and television and film together in the classroom experiences of students, so the students we come out can talk across media platforms as powerfully as they can talk within a single medium. And this, I think, the conferences like this give us a chance to create that kind of experience for our students, to pull together the best thinking of the industry, the best thinking of the academy, to have a serious discussion of what's happening in the entertainment sector. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner in crime, Denise Mann from UCLA.